Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is gonna be absolutely bonkers. Now, with us today, I have a very, very good friend, Steve Daria. Steve, how are you, sir?
What's happening, Travis? How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. Once again, man, I appreciate you coming on the channel. I appreciate you, educating us. And today what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to touch a lot on the updated foreclosure data from Black Knight. And then I'm also going to, as long as Steve has time, I'm going to go into a little bit about Steve's journey, who he is. And towards the end of the video, I'm going to ask Steve what he thinks that essentially new homeowners or potential homeowners should do as they're waiting, and also what his opinion is if you're an investor on the sidelines waiting, because we always want to stay also in the solution. We're talking about the problem because it exists, right? And we're not afraid to talk about it. But we always want y'all to understand that our message is solution, okay, not staying in the problem. So, Steve, anything you want to add to that, brother?
No, man. Let's jump into this. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course. So you guys, I always have to say this, neither one of us are financial advisors. Do us a favor, show us some love, like this video, comment below. You guys know the comments keep me going. I'm going to show you guys Steve's page real quick. Here's Steve's page right here. You guys go to this page, subscribe to the page, watch his videos. Steve is a genius, quite frankly. He's a very good person. He's very humble. But what I like about Steve the most is, you're a genius, dude, and you're like a normal person. You don't let it go, it is video though, but I feel like I'm a good judge of character. I know we've only met a handful of times, but brother, I love your humility. I love your discipline. And, I love your knowledge of real estate. So you ready to get started?
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Ditto. Same here, man. I love your channel. I think the value that you provide is exponential, and you give me plenty of data and ideas as well to share with our audience. And I appreciate your channel, man.
Yeah, dude, I definitely appreciate you. I'm going to bring up right now, Steve, let me just make sure you can see this, right?
Yep.
So here's the new data from Black Knight. Now, I hate that it's lagging. July is not going to come out until the end of August, and we'll dig that up more. But as you can see, Steve, from the last time we did a video together, everything is worse, right? It's everything is worse. Delinquency rate is up 3.31%. Foreclosure starts up 26%. Now that's month over month, obviously. And this isn't really important to me. This is refinances or prepayment activity. To me, that's meaningless. But tell me what your thoughts are on the updated data.
I think regardless, recession or not, I think it's inevitable that foreclosures are going to increase. When we had the moratoriums out there, in my opinion, I think the government needs to stay out of a lot of things, and I think all that did was really hurt the economy. And now, because they restricted supply to the housing market, and it's all going to catch up. And unfortunately, I think we're going to have an oversupply, and it's going to come from different areas, from institutional investors unloading properties to people with, I consider it almost like fake equity in their properties based over the last 2 years appreciation. It was almost uncalled for. So I think we're going to have more people that got into situations that they can no longer afford their properties. And then obviously the backlog of foreclosures, and then people who overextended themselves today. I know people that bought not even a year ago that didn't realize how overextended that they are. And they don't have enough equity in their property to even sell right now. So there's going to be a lot of people in situations I think we'll talk a little bit later on in this video, so be sure you stay to the end. But we're doing things to educate ourselves, not just real estate brokers, but also real estate investors, to become more problem solvers for what I predict is going to happen in the future of housing.
Yeah, to me, it's as clear as day. I call it a default bubble. And I say it's a bubble because there's so much smoke screen over the reality of what's going on with current homeowners. But let me ask you this, Steve. Overall, do you think the foreclosure ban was a good idea during COVID?
No, not at all. And especially, maybe when COVID first started and everybody's freaking out and didn't know what was going on, maybe we could have figured something out where it was a couple months of a moratorium, but to extend it to where we're at today, I mean, there's still people going through forbearance today, 2 years later, and all it's doing is just creating a bigger bubble within a bubble, in my opinion.
So Steve, do I've been getting a lot of comments that I find pretty curious, and do you think that the lenders right now and the banks right now are essentially going out of their way to prevent foreclosures? Because I've had a lot of people say that banks don't want foreclosures. They're offering 40-year loan modifications in lieu of foreclosure. Do you think that the banks are intentionally stopping people from going to foreclosure? And if so, why?
I think a lot of the lending institutions are working with borrowers to figure out if they can do modifications. And you got to understand, most banks, they're gonna go through the exact same process that they did when you first got that loan. And if they realize that you had a job loss or cut in pay, or you're not making as much money, or your wife lost her job and now you don't have enough household income to support that mortgage, even if it's extended over freaking 100 years, and it doesn't make sense for the lender, they're not going to modify that loan for you, and you're going to be in a situation. So I don't necessarily agree with that. And another thing that people have to understand, and we used to list REO properties, and the banks are not in the business to manage real estate. When they don't sell that foreclosure at auction because they didn't hit a reserve price, they hate taking those properties back, because now they're responsible for maintaining that property, getting squatters out of that property. They're responsible for taxes, insurance. They're responsible for oversight of the real estate agent, making sure that they're doing their job to get it on the open market and sell it for top dollar. And it's just a headache. The banks are in business to lend money. So I don't necessarily agree with that narrative unless there's something else behind that I don't know about. But I don't necessarily agree with that.
I love it, dude. I mean, the banks are in business to collect interest. They're not well, per se, right? I mean, obviously there's a lot of different banks. Great answer, dude, as always. So, real quick, I want everyone that's listening to really get behind, who you are. I often get a lot of comments. Oh, Travis, you're not some master economist, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people will say demeaning things to try to really suppress what we're saying because they have a difference of opinion. I mean, it is what it is. If you're a YouTuber, right? You got to have thick skin, Steve. I mean, that. But tell us a little bit about your credentials. Tell me your background in real estate. Tell me how much you've invested.
I've been licensed realtor since 2003. My sister and I started our brokerage in 2006. We grew that brokerage to a couple offices with over 60 real estate agents. In 2018, we sold our brokerage. And then thereafter, I've had, just plenty of time I had too much time on my hands, to say the least. Throughout that time period, I've always been investing in real estate. One of the main things that I've always done throughout has always been flipping my primary residence as well. Yeah. And that was just part of my business model. So after a 2-year period, if you sold after 2 years and it's your primary, you don't pay any taxes on it. I'm not a tax advisor, so talk to your accountant. But basically, that's how I've been able to generate this wealth free and clear of any taxation. Amazing. And just roll it in. And, after only a handful of literally my third property, I was able to, after the market crashed and everything, my third property, I became free and clear on my mortgage. So I try to push that knowledge out to, especially for first-time home buyers and people buying a residence, is, a huge call. And that's what we're seeing right now, Travis. We're seeing a ton of people overextend themselves, whether it's 40, 50, 60, even 65% of their take-home pay is going to their housing expense. And you cannot create wealth that way. You cannot get ahead in life if you're spending that much money for a roof over your head. And I think that's really important. Thereafter, if you can get your cost of living extremely low, you're going to have a lot of money left over to go ahead and reinvest. And that's what I've done. And I've had plenty of money after all expenses because, you turn into a financially free state of mind and a financially free state, and you have all this money left over, and then you can just go ahead and continue to invest in what you like and what you're knowledgeable about. And I've always been investing in real estate, and that's been primarily single family, some small multifamily, and even condos, and that's been both short-term rental properties, annual rentals, as well as buying and flipping. And then we can talk about it a little bit later about coming into this new market. We're really, really kicking up the education piece. We're paying big money for it too, to have some of the top professionals in literally the world educate us on problem solving coming into where I foresee the real estate market's going to go. And we're going to start collecting a lot of real estate in that way.
I love it, man. I'm definitely interested in learning more. And I love how you hit, you're an absolute genius, Steve. I wish I was as smart as you, but you made some really, really good points, dude. And that's the conversion of your primary residence. I'm not necessarily, and I got to say this very carefully, I don't really believe in selling real estate, right? I mean, except when we're like peak bubble, right? And meaning we can see that, maybe sell. But I chose not to sell my primary residence. I chose to keep it. I have about 50% equity, and I converted it to a rental. I think converting your primary residence is so smart, or even like you said, selling it, because, dude, you get that profit and you don't get taxed on it, right? So, I'm not a CPA, by the way. I'm not giving tax advice. My own personal stories, right? Dude, it's amazing converting your primary residence, either selling it or converting it to a rental. And one of the reasons why, other than the tax liability, getting around the tax liability, is you get the same terms of your financing. So you get generally you get favorable financing, because the financing on a primary residence is often better than an investment property. So you get that. Plus, in my opinion, the other reason why I converted to a rental instead of selling, I wanted the Schedule E on my 1040. So now I on my tax return, I get to file an additional form called a Schedule E, which allows me to basically claim more tax deductions for that residence that I'm renting out. And the cool thing is I get to claim depreciation, right? HOA, taxes, I get to claim it all. So it's a little bit of a tax shelter. Hit the nail on the head, brother. I always learn something, or something gets sparked that I forget to mention, or I just learn stuff. You're a beast, dude.
The thing too is, Travis, there's really no right way to invest in real estate as long as you're being smart about it. There are hundreds of ways to invest in real estate strategically as well as creatively. And I think that people have to understand that not every one investment method, or even one purchase for their home is the right way. Like, I would recommend, if you're going out and you're going to buy your first home, you should figure a way to house hack. Can you get in with an FHA loan, 3.5% down, have the seller contribute toward your closing costs, and buy a triplex and live in one of the units, rent out the other two and live for free? Like, boom, you just eliminated your housing costs potentially. And now you can really, all your paychecks are going into a bank account. Now you can start buying that the next property. So there's so many different strategies. It's just a matter of really picking a couple of them and diving into the research and understanding, the pros and cons of every different strategy. But, not every strategy is going to work for any one person,
No. And dude, I really love going back and forth with you, because first of all, iron sharpens iron, man. And in the YouTube space, I like talking to people. I don't want to just talk. I feel like I'm a stereo manual, super boring. But you said something, man, that I've been really trying to get across to people. You essentially said there's basically 100 ways to invest in real estate, and generally you're going to win so long as you're smart, right? And then you went into down payments. And here's the thing: a lot of people, like Dave Ramsey, and these people, like, don't buy a house unless you have 20% down. Some people are like, don't buy a house unless you have all cash, which is crazy. I'm a firm believer, if you're financially stable, right, enough, your income, you're in low debt, get in at the minimum down payment. FHA is 3.5% down. And here's my case in point. When I first now remember, I had a foreclosure in 2008. It took 10 years to get out of that. I'd be so much further along right now if I didn't make that mistake. But one of the first properties I purchased in Texas was with an FHA 3.5% down. I made $150,000 on that property, right?
Yep.
So if I would have waited to 20% down, all of that opportunity would have passed me up, probably taken me 2 years, maybe a year and a half. By then, obviously, property value is higher. So, I understand, the more money that you have down, the more skin in the game per se. But I think people, if they have the minimum down, get the minimum down, have the seller pay your closing costs, because owning, 99.999% of the time is way better than wasting money in rent. So, I think if people have the money, man, and I think, and they don't go broke buying the house, I think minimum down's fine, right?
Yeah.
What I have seen though is like go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, as long as they're not overextending themselves, they have to take I think the biggest piece of advice in terms of buying your primary residence is don't be emotional on the property, because as soon as you allow emotions to jump in, you're like, all right, man, 50% of my income's going to this house. I don't care. We're going to enjoy the house. We're going to watch movies every night and eat inside and not go out. And it's like, eventually that house is going to get boring and you're going to be sick and tired, and then you're going to regret that house. And I've seen it. I've seen it in my years of experience selling real estate. I mean, we've sold thousands of properties for people in all different forms and mental states. And people can regret their most exciting, largest purchase of their lifetime. People have to look out for that.
And I've heard and I've read a lot of comments, where people are like, buying a home is not an investment; it's your livelihood. And I get that, right? Because and I believe that a lot myself too. I'm not trying to take over the world. I don't want to own 50 houses. I just want to balance life, man. And I think that allows me to be a lot more unbiased. I understand the pride of ownership, but nevertheless, man, there have so many people in my career in real estate and doing what I'm doing. I've met so many people that have lived in their house 15, 20 years, and now they have $300,000, $400,000 in equity. So I get it, like the pride of ownership, we want homes for those reasons, but nevertheless, people have to understand that, the reality is you can get rich in real estate if it's done the right way. And the thing, and one of the reasons why you can get rich is not everyone can buy a house, right? It's hard to buy a house, especially if you're like me and you had struggles in the past. You have to, having struggles in the past is almost worse than starting from zero, because I'm starting negative now, right? I have to, why did you have a foreclosure? Why did you have a repo? Why did you have a bankruptcy? Why did you have a tax lien, right? I had to answer all those questions, man. So, my point is like, you got to be smart about the financial aspect as well. So I want to show you, Steve, I'm going to show you this map here from Black Knight. Tell me your thoughts. Now you can see here's kind of the overvaluation. So these kind of represents overvaluation, or annual home price growth rate. And my question to you is, and you can see here, you're in Florida, Steve. And I had a user comment like, hey, do you know anyone in Florida? Can you represent me? Steve is in Florida. If you guys have any questions in Florida, the housing market in Florida, can I reach out to you, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a full team here to help anybody that's just needs advice or looking to buy or sell. For sure, we can help out.
So take a look at this annual. I mean, this annual home growth, 32%, 28%. I mean, this is crazy. And look at Texas, dude. Normally Texas, this is great. Normally Texas is strong, is stable. Normally Texas goes through corrections, crashes, negative equity growth, a lot more stable. But what I've noticed here is, I believe these overvaluations is a result of the mass migration, and of decades of Texas being really low priced. But my question, Steve, is, do you think that these overvalued areas are more susceptible to foreclosure?
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, we saw, and I know we're going to get people in the comment section saying the last real estate crash, completely different. It's like, I hear it all the time. I get it. How we got there is a different way, and it's a different way this time around. But our area was overinflated because of the ton of speculation. I mean, there's a lot of speculation investors in our markets, and the appreciation got out of control. And those same houses in, say, Cape Coral that we were selling for 275,000, we were short selling for 60. And if you think it can't happen, I mean, just look at history, and history can repeat itself. And I think that this market is obviously different of how we're getting here, but there's no common sense when I look at over a 2-year period, the appreciation that we had in many markets, not just like hot spots like the last crash. There was no reason for that type of appreciation in housing. It was so manipulated, and I think it's going to be tough. And those markets, absolutely, it's showing right now in terms of those markets that you're pointing out. You're seeing a ton of new listings coming to market. You're seeing basically the amount of listings doubling in a lot of markets. You're seeing price reductions happening a lot. You're seeing properties coming back on market because of canceled contracts. So it's happening right now, whether you want to believe it or not. It is happening. Just look at the data. And, I think that especially in a recessionary environment, I think it's only going to get worse if we start to see tremendous layoffs happen. There was a really good website. Her name is Corey Sanchez. If you guys don't follow her on YouTube, she's brilliant, man. And she brought up, let me pull this up real quick. I'll just tell you the website. It's called layoffs.fyi. I don't know if you want to pull it up or whatever. Layoffs.fyi. And it's a very interesting site to keep an eye on. But a lot of people are like following what the Fed and mainstream media is talking about in terms of how strong the job market is. But don't be fooled. I mean, we're coming into I think uncharted waters with the amount of big and small companies doing layoffs. And this site I found very interesting. So when you get time, scroll through it and keep an eye on it. But I think this is going to be a telling sign as to where things are going.
Wow. Okay. And this is it right here. This is the website, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's free to anybody, layoffs.fyi. So check it out, dissect it. You can see all the companies that are doing layoffs on a percentage basis, as well as the figures. Is sources where the information is actually coming from as well. So you can either dispute it or see if it's real or not. But Travis, I think that our economy is our economy is sick. And and with the amount of manipulation, everything that's going on, as the Fed keeps increasing, based on the Fed talk recently, I mean, I don't see them. I don't see them slowing down. I mean, I think that I think Powell understands he needs to do what he needs to do.
I hope so, man.
I do too.
I really hope so, man. I really feel like it's a political circus, and it shouldn't be. And you said something, and I wrote it down that I wanted to ask you about, because you're in Florida, man, and you said basically speculation. And I know Florida is like the #1 state of people that own second homes, or rather non-occupied housing. So can you, and because you are in the midst of Florida, can you talk a little bit, Steve, about, do you think that these investors that are speculating, do you think there's going to be an inventory dump? And if you do, when and why?
I think that we've had a lot of people buy second homes in Florida because they were all able to do remote work. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that migration pattern in a lot of different areas throughout the country as well. But we're seeing white collar layoffs and a lot of executives being laid off and everything else. And those executives are the same ones that are buying, even multi-million-dollar second home or vacation homes in Florida. And, I think for anybody watching this, don't think for a second that somebody who, say, makes $500,000 a year is incredibly intelligent when it comes to money. You're going to be mistaken, because I've been through the last crash where you'll see it this time around. You'll see multi-million-dollar properties go into foreclosure or be in a short sale position. And I've dealt with some very, very successful people personally that lost a lot. I'm talking tens of millions of dollars. And that's fine. Like, people have to learn lessons and everything else the hard way. You have as well. And so it's just, I do foresee that we're going to see a lot of those properties come to market. To finalize your question, when, our inventory is still very tight here. We're seeing a lot of price reductions and everything else. It's still tight. It's increasing. It's growing for sure. But I think our season here in Southwest Florida is January, February, March. So that's when a lot more people will put properties on market in terms of seasonality. But I think by the fall, by the winter, we're going to see a lot more inventory come to market in Florida. And we're seeing it right now. I mean, we're seeing it in certain hotspots like Tampa and St. Pete and Clearwater.
You're saying this year, like fall of this year or fall of 2023?
I think fall of this year, it's going to start. And then I think 2023 is just going to be oversaturation of inventory.
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be a really dark year for everyone that's not prepared and can't weather storms. So you're suspecting there's going to be some type of surge for speculation homes or second homes, investors. You can see that happening in your local market and area in fall. And you know what's really important, Steve, that I'm noticing, dude? The importance of people doing their own work in their local market. People have to understand the trends of their local market. My local market, oh my gosh, man. I mean, it is showing all the signs that I need to see. Like, I'm almost considering buying a house now, but I'm not. But my local house market is, I've made my buying checklist, right? So I have a checklist of this is what I want: 3,000 square foot, 5 bedrooms, blah, 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 blah. And then I put an anchor point of what I see that going for right now. So $120 a square foot. So then what I'm doing is I'm monitoring my local house market. And when I find a 3,000 square foot house, 4 bedrooms, whatever, all my checklists, then I look at the price per square foot based on that area. It tells me if it's a good deal or not. And, I set an anchor point at $120. We smoked that. They're all over. Then I set another one at 110, hitting that like crazy. Then I set it at 105. Now I'm finding houses under $100 a square foot, right?
And you couldn't build them for that price,
bro. You can't, man. And that's why I'm like screaming at people, like, if you're losing it, if you're having trouble being patient, because I get it, I'm renting, I hate it. Look at my housing market, right? I mean, it's showing all the signs, the price cuts, the listings, days on market. It's unbelievable, man. I mean, and that's new builders and resales. But anyways, what I want to get to, dude, is let me pull up this chart right here. And this is again, I don't like that the data is lagging, but it's really, they're a huge provider of data. So it's kind of like all we have. So here's the updated chart right here, Steve. Let me zoom in a little bit. As you can see, delinquencies are up month over month, 3.3%. Foreclosures are up 8.7%. Starts up 26%. Serious delinquencies up 2.43%. So essentially everything is up from when we spoke last time. Can you talk into this data a little bit?
And loan originations are down. I mean, there's less demand in the market. I mean, it's kind of what we started out with in this conversation. What you're showing right there is progressively going to get worse, in my opinion. I mean, if you look at the HUD data, and I think I sent you that link too. I mean, there's still things like just over 4.5 million people that are delinquent in any form, whether it's, serious or just, a month or two. And then the amount of people not paying rent as well. I think it's 6.1 million people not paying rent. So there's a lot of, it's over 11 million people delinquent in their housing payment in some form. So I think as time progresses, that's not even including, what's to come as well. So I think we're just going to see this significantly increase. And obviously back to, our government had full control over, you being allowed to not pay your rent, you being not allowed to pay, you didn't have to pay your mortgage. And you know what? Another thing too, Travis, is they keep extending the moratorium for student debt. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
huge bubble in itself. So people, everybody, you hear the other side and they're like, everybody's bank accounts look real healthy and this and that.
Yeah.
It's like they haven't been paying their mortgage. They haven't been paying their rent. They haven't been paying their student debt. So, of course, they're going to have extra money in bank accounts. But that is all coming to an end. And
Yes.
people's savings are starting to drain quickly.
And actually, and I'm glad you brought that up because I've heard that argument before. And the data that I looked at, and I'll try to pull that up real quick. And the data I'm looking at shows that savings are down drastically.
Yeah.
And I think what people are getting confused is like household, like family value, right? So like the value and the wealth of families are still high, but I believe that's a result of equity in their houses, right? From the massive equity surge. So it's like people are saying, oh no, they're in great shape. It's like, well, as soon as the equity goes away, that's gone because like their savings. And I'm going to try to find this data for you, dude. I mean, the savings are plummeting. So I hear that argument. I'm like, you guys are looking at the,
savings are going down. Credit card debt over the last 12 months is up 13%. Credit card debt is at the highest it's ever been in history. Another thing to keep an eye on in terms of a data point, and I'm editing a video on this right now, and I've talked about in multiple videos, are HELOC loans.
Yeah.
So right now, I guarantee if you have a mortgage, well, I can't guarantee anything, but if you have a mortgage right now, I bet you are getting mailers and even phone calls from lending institutions saying, hey, why don't you tap into that equity that you have with a HELOC loan? And people are doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, look at that savings rate. It's plummeting.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying to people. Like I've seen the chart where like the value or the wealth they have. It's like in order to have that wealth, you have to sell your house, and it's not easy to sell a house. I mean, there's fees, there's times we're in a transitioning market. But if you look here, Steve, look at so this is this is the months of savings, right? So 10.5 in July. So where's August? So August is right here. So just in 1 year, well, actually this doesn't go to August. This only goes to May. So, where's May? It's not quite there, but essentially you can see it's plummeted, right? So it's plummeted from 10.5 all the way down to, move this arrow, 5.1. So in 1 year, Americans' savings has been cut in half, which tells me it's not real savings. Real savings, people earn, they feel the pain, and they save. This is spending money. This to me is free spending money from stimulus. Maybe people have some extra stimulus, but it's gone, dude. I mean, it's gone.
They're burning through cash, man.
And here's a 5 year. I mean, and even the 5 year, look at this. It's under where we were at pre-pandemic. People have less savings than they did pre-pandemic. So what are people, look at this. So here's all pre-pandemic. It's in the 7.6, 7.3. Here's the lowest at 6.6, right? 7.2. And then it shoots up because of stimulus. Look at that. 33.8. Oh my God.
But that's not just stimulus. It's exactly what we're talking about. You got not only stimulus, but you didn't have to pay your rent or your mortgage or your student debt.
And no gas because you couldn't drive anywhere. I mean, there's
no gas. Yeah.
And no school. I mean, dude, and look at it. It has I mean, it's so bad, dude. It's like at least a 5 year low. So
let me touch on this. If people right now are looking at this chart and they think that there's no turmoil in the housing market, that people are fine, and the story I keep hearing over and over on my channel is people are locked into 2.75%. Steve, how are they possibly going to let their house go or foreclose or put their house in the market? They'd be an idiot to get rid of that loan. It's out of their control.
Yes, that's what I hear that argument all the time. And to me, that argument is like, if someone's on the outside looking in, I can see how they would make that argument. But because you and I have decades of experience, we understand that it's like, we're not talking about the people that have the 2.5. They're happy with their house. They're probably not going to move anyways. What we're talking about is the people that have unforeseen circumstances, divorce, medical, they got to move for some reason, family emergency. There are so many things that happen in life that we don't prepare for. And that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes people don't have the option. There's a thousand reasons why to sell. Having said that, I still believe that a low interest rate is going to keep some people in their houses, as it should, because geez, on my rental property I have a 2.125. Right. I mean, dude,
It's
like
huge.
that to me. Yeah. And that's another reason I didn't want to sell. I'm like, dude, if I sell this house, I'm going to lose that loan is now my kind of like an asset, on that mortgage. So, um,
What I foresee what's going to happen to slow things down
mhm,
in terms of the housing market going down and more inventory coming to market are the
yeah.
HELOC loans. The
Wow.
lending institutions, again, it goes back to the whole foreclosure. They're in the business to lend money. If they're not lending
Yeah.
money, they go out of business. So what are they
Yeah.
doing? The only thing that they can lend on is your equity position in your home, and they're pushing HELOC loans. So I think that a percentage of people are going to be taking these HELOCs. They're going to take the cash, just put it in their bank account. They're going to be living off of that money. That's just going to extend the inevitable, unfortunately. So I think that's one of the things that will slow down a complete housing crash, because people are going to finance their
Yeah.
cost of living essentially.
Yeah. And that's such a bad thing to do. People that, I mean, I get it. I mean, but people are using their houses as ATM machines, and
Yeah.
that's what happened in 2002 to 2008. I mean, people were refinancing every year, and they would
Yep.
pay stiff PPP. And I'm not talking about payroll protection program. I'm talking about prepayment penalties, right? We know
Yeah.
PPP, the original PPP. So, I mean, it was nasty back then, man, with the refinance. So I got a few more questions, man. We're about 36 minutes in. Can you talk a little bit, Steve, about where can we get a list of foreclosures? I know you did a video on this. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Pre foreclosures or foreclosures?
Both.
So pre foreclosures, there's a lot of there's I think it's called batch leads. The one we have is called RedX.
Yeah.
And that RedX, basically, I did a video on it where you can. So right now, I think RedX pulled maybe like, I think right now there's probably 1,800 pre foreclosures in our area in Lee and Collier County, and it includes all the phone numbers, everything else. And those are, as an investor, those
This.
are pretty, yeah, those are, and real estate agents can use this too, but that's a gold mine for what we're looking to do in terms of creating creative problem solving scenarios for people, especially if they're, pre foreclosure, they're not paying on their mortgage. So what we're doing is we're working with a guy named Pace Morby, who we just signed up with. If you guys don't know, I mean, just start watching his content. But basically, he is ultimately a problem solver, and it really shows you different ways of creative financing and how to help people and everything else. So when we, I know I'm getting off subject, but I think it's important. When the market crashed last time, we did several hundred short sales, listed and sold short sales. And that was kind of like my only tool back then, because I didn't know anything else. I just knew, hey, you're going to go into a foreclosure, you're not paying on a mortgage, go ahead and do a short sale and we'll help you facilitate it. And we helped a lot of people avoid foreclosure. So it was better on their credit and everything else. But what we're going to do, what we're learning right now in this new market is, and I think that there's going to be a prime opportunity for investors for this, is what's called sub two. So you're basically taking over the existing mortgage, which in many cases, because everybody got really, really good loans and interest rates over the last couple of years, and get these people caught up, from their arrears of non-payment, maybe get some cash in their pocket and basically take over their loan and then turn those into rentals. And we get into these properties with, significantly less money, and also be able to ultimately help people, because their only other alternative is probably, if they don't have equity. And people have to understand there's a cost to sell your house. You got, even if you sold it yourself, you still have closing costs. You got doc stamps, you got title insurance, everything. You got, So a lot of people don't have equity. So we want to create these win-win situations where not only are you avoiding a foreclosure, not only are you avoiding a short sale, you're avoiding both of those. You're keeping your credit clean, and we're getting you out of a shitty situation and even getting money in your pocket. So we're excited for this, and I'm gonna document a lot of this on our YouTube channel and bring you guys through that journey, and start collecting some real estate and helping people out.
I love it, man. Two more questions, Steve.
Sure.
Staying, talking a little bit more about the solution. We know there's a foreclosure problem. We know it's getting worse, and we don't really got to argue that. The data is kind of pointing it out. But again, back up to the solution. Can you talk a little bit? I'm going to ask you two questions. One's going to be, what should homeowners, potential new homeowners or normal homeowners do right now as they're waiting? And then the second question is going to be, what can investors do? Because what I'm noticing, man, is again, a lot of the hate on YouTube and the demeaning and the division is coming from, essentially people like us that were saying, hey, hold on a second, this is what's going on, be cautious, we're sounding the alarm. And then the hate is, like I said, investors, right? Investors have a different way of thinking. They, a lot of investors, not all, a lot of investors can weather the storm easily, right? 20, 30, 40% decrease in equity to some of them is nothing. So it's, I'm not saying anyone is, necessarily wrong, but there is a division. There's a separate thought process involved if you're investing. So the first question is what can you say, Steve, or recommend? And I know we're not financial advisors, to just normal homeowner or potential homeowners. What can they do right now if they're sitting out?
I mean, if they made a decision not to buy in the near future, just sitting out, I would work on increasing my income. I'd work on increasing my credit score. But I would still continually go out and look at the market. I think people need this. This is what real estate investors should be doing. But the normal home buyer needs to go out and look at communities and really get a feel for what a good deal is. And then when they see that deal, they can jump on it. So I think it's important that regardless, even if you're out for on our primary residence, I'm looking every day for primary residence, and I think it's vital to just always be scouring the market, even if you're 12 months out or 16 months out. It doesn't matter. Go and look at what houses are going for, and then you'll be able to spot a deal when that happens.
I love it, man. I mean, because beautiful answer. People aren't going to know what a good deal is unless they're studying themselves, right? And I hope what they understand is, I'm not saying every realtor is bad. In fact, I'm saying if you find a good realtor, priceless, because there's so many bad realtors. And I think most people are they're going on Google, they're getting a recommendation from their friend or something, and they're not doing enough due diligence with their realtors to, and the realtors are just giving them trash advice. And that's why I'm always about empower yourself. You have to understand your local trends if you're going to know what a good deal is. We can't just say, oh, it's unaffordable, oh, that's not a good deal. You have to understand also that affordability and price is essentially two different things, right? For example, even if like Southern California drops 60% in equity, I still can't afford to live out there. You know what I mean? And I don't want to. I have children now, but my point is unaffordability. Pricing does have a correlation with unaffordability, but it's essentially two different things, right? Because what could you do with unaffordability? Make more money, have less debt, things like that. So, I love it, man. Any difference on what you can tell investors?
I think if you're an investor, there's always opportunity. And that's why even right now, I was very frustrated in our local market. If I wanted to invest in my backyard, it was really difficult to have any cash flow property make sense at a decent cap rate. And, I was just frustrated. And that's why, I said, I heard this a long time ago, you don't know what you don't know. And I think that it's vital to always continually to learn, because you can always grow and you can always learn something new. And that's why we're taking this new venture with Pace and his team to, get into their network and really understand alternative ways of buying real estate, because there's hundreds of ways to do it. There's hundreds of ways to structure creative deals. And, if you're an investor, don't look at, just down that one tunnel, because, the more tools that you have in your toolbox, the better problem solver you can be. And I think that's what it's all about. And it's more so even helping people. If you can figure a way to help somebody, you're probably going to benefit in return.
And to me, and that's the type of business I'm looking for, man. Like I said, dude, I know that it's not hard to become successful in real estate. I mean, a child can do it, right? But the hard part is life. That's the hard part. The struggles in life, the finances, the unforeseen circumstances. That's hard. Investing in real estate is actually easy. That's in my opinion, right? I mean, Steve. I mean, I could watch a video for 10 minutes and learn someone's experience, 2 years of experience. I mean, there's no excuses anymore. We have so much ability to empower and educate. It's on us now. That's my opinion, right? And I know. And here's the thing. I think the problem is it's really blinding. It's almost like the dark ages, in my opinion, of information because there's too much. So people are blinded, and they're content with their life, and people aren't empowering the same way. And that's what I see. But anyways, man. We've been talking for 45 minutes. Before I before I let you go, do you have anything you want to end on, Steve?
I would just say if you're buying for your primary residence, be very cautious on your cost of living, because that can hold you back not just years, but it could hold you back decades from creating wealth for not just you, but even your children and everything else. So be very cautious. And then if you're investing, just start learning new and creative ways of buying real estate, because there's a lot of off-market opportunities as well. And if you're just sitting there looking at Zillow or Realtor.com for the next property, you're probably looking at 10% of opportunity that's really out there.
I absolutely love it, dude. Well, I appreciate you, Steve. Again, you guys go to his channel. Steve's hang out with me just a second, okay? I'll be right back with you. All right, guys. Well, mad love to Steve. He's always trying to help people. He's always trying to, essentially just being transparent, coming from his heart. He's being honest. And that's why I love him. He's always giving people value. So watch him if you don't watch him. Subscribe if you haven't already. And you guys, if you're out there investing in real estate, you already know I wish you luck. And I hope you win.